Feeling lost in your 20s or 30s is one of the most terrifying yet liberating experiences you can have. Society wants you to believe that you should have it all figured out by now, your career mapped, your relationships aligned, your purpose crystal clear. But what if I told you that the exact moment you feel unmoored, confused, or uncertain is the moment you're being handed a gift? That discomfort, that gnawing anxiety about not knowing, is actually the universe, or reality, however you want to frame it, pointing directly at the raw material of your future. Feeling lost is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is the starting line of every story worth telling, every breakthrough worth achieving. When you embrace uncertainty, you stop fearing it. You begin to see that every ambiguous step, every wrong turn, and every failed experiment is actually teaching you something invaluable. You learn resilience not when life is easy, but when it tests you relentlessly. You learn creativity not when the path is obvious, but when you have to invent your way forward. The people who appear together in the world are not born that way. They've learned to harness the power of uncertainty. They've learned to treat discomfort like a compass instead of a warning light. Every time you feel disoriented, that is your internal GPS nudging you toward deeper understanding, toward a version of yourself you can't reach when life feels safe and predictable. The trick is shifting your perspective. Instead of panicking or hiding from that lost feeling, lean into it. Ask yourself, what am I learning right now? What doors does this uncertainty open? Life doesn't hand out clarity like candy. Clarity is forged in the heat of trial, confusion, and relentless questioning. You start to realize that the discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the signal that you're stretching, that you're growing, that you're alive in a way that will shape the rest of your life. When you stop trying to erase the feeling of being lost and start using it as fuel, you move from being a passive passenger to the architect of your own trajectory. One of the biggest traps people fall into in their 20s and 30s is waiting. Waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for the right timing, waiting for someone else to approve their next move. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I'm ready, or I need to figure this out first, or I'll wait until the circumstances are perfect. The problem is, perfect circumstances almost never exist, and readiness is a myth. The truth is, the only thing you truly control is what you do in this moment. Your action, your choice, your willingness to move right now is the only thing that will ever change your trajectory. Ownership of your life starts with recognizing that no one else is responsible for your future. Not your boss, not your family, not the economy, not luck. You have a finite amount of time, energy, and focus. And the longer you hand that power over to external forces, the longer you're trapped in frustration, envy, or stagnation. Taking ownership means saying, this is my life, my career, my relationships, my growth, my failures, and my wins. I own them all. It's terrifying because it removes excuses, but it's also liberating because it's the only way forward. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every small step you take toward what scares you, what challenges you, what excites you, compounds over time. You don't need permission to start building the life you want. You don't need validation to pursue what matters. Waiting for approval is a trap that steals years of your life and leaves you wondering why nothing ever changed. Real power comes from taking radical responsibility for your choices, your mindset, and your persistence. Ownership also means embracing discomfort. When you make decisions that are entirely yours, you will face fear, doubt, and pushback from yourself and from others. That's part of the process. The people who make a difference, who build something meaningful, who carve out extraordinary lives, are the ones who stop asking for permission, stop hoping for signals from the world, and start acting. Action breeds clarity. Action breeds momentum. Action proves that you are not a passive character in your own story. You are the author, the architect, the one shaping the world you want to live in. One of the hardest truths to accept in your 20s and 30s is that life is not a straight line. We are raised on stories of linear success: graduate, get a stable job, climb the ladder, retire comfortably. But the reality is messy, unpredictable, and chaotic. And yet, the people who thrive are the ones who stop expecting a straight path and start embracing the process of iteration. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the journey. Every misstep, every wrong decision, every unexpected detour is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and pivot towards something better. Movement, not perfection, creates momentum. Stagnation, waiting for the perfect plan or the right timing, is what keeps people trapped in fear and regret. Iterating relentlessly means giving yourself permission to experiment. It means trying things even if you're not sure they will work. It means taking small actions, learning from the results, and adjusting along the way. The person who succeeds is rarely the one who got it right the first time. They are the one who refused to stop moving, who refused to let failure define them, who treated each setback as a signal rather than a sentence. Growth is a muscle. You don't build it by staying in your comfort zone or by avoiding mistakes. You build it by pushing your limits, testing your assumptions, and constantly refining your approach. Every pivot you make, every new experiment brings clarity. Life is a laboratory, and you are both the scientist and the subject. The more you act, the more you understand what works, what doesn't, and what actually resonates with you. The key is to keep moving, even when the path forward is foggy. Stalling in fear of making the wrong choice only prolongs confusion and doubt. You're allowed to fail, to pivot, and to start over multiple times, sometimes radically, sometimes subtly, but each iteration compounds, teaching you lessons that no amount of planning or theorizing could ever provide. This relentless cycle of action, feedback, and adjustment is what separates those who feel stuck from those who feel alive. Life doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who move, who experiment, who treat every challenge as data, every failure as feedback, and every success as proof that momentum works. The people who make an impact are not perfect, they are persistent. They understand that life's power lies not in arriving in a straight line, but in learning to navigate the twists and turns, adjusting constantly, and moving forward no matter what. One of the most destructive traps in your 20s and 30s is measuring your worth against someone else's timeline. Society constantly tells you by 25 you should have this. By 30 you should have that. Social media screams it in every scroll. Highlight reels of other people's successes, promotions, relationships, and accomplishments. It's exhausting, and it's a trap because it convinces you that life is a race and that you are already behind. But here's the thing, those timelines aren't real. They're arbitrary. They weren't made for you. They were made for someone else's narrative, not for the unique person you are becoming. Your 20s and 30s are not a countdown. They're a sandbox, a time to experiment, to explore, to make mistakes, and to discover what truly matters to you. Redefining success on your own terms means letting go of the scripts handed to you. It means asking yourself deep, uncomfortable questions. What do I value? What brings me fulfillment? What kind of life do I actually want to wake up to every morning? When you stop chasing milestones designed for other people and start building a life that reflects your own values, suddenly every decision becomes clearer. Every setback loses some of its sting because you're no longer measuring yourself against someone else's yardstick. You're measuring progress against your own vision. It also means embracing the freedom to fail without shame. When your purpose is aligned with your own definition of success, failure is just a stepping stone, not a catastrophe. You're allowed to pivot, to change paths, to abandon what doesn't resonate, and to double down on what excites you. Society may judge, but the only judgment that matters is your own, and it's forged in the act of living authentically, not in performing for others. Building a life on your own terms requires courage because it's not always easy or popular. It's messy, it's uncertain, but that messiness is where growth happens. Every small choice you make in alignment with your values compounds over time, shaping a life that is uniquely yours. Forget the timelines, the comparisons, the pressures to conform. Your 20s and 30s are a sandbox, and the sand is yours to mold. Focus on what matters, focus on what excites you, and focus on the life that, when you look back, will feel like a creation you built with intention, courage, and relentless curiosity.